This beautiful piece of machinery you see sitting here is the Yamaha CS-15 from 1979. Being part of Yamaha's wider CS range of synthesizer, most famous for the coveted CS-80, the CS-15 is often overlooked when compared to other staple monophonic synthesizers like the ARP Odyssey, MS-20, or literally any of the Moogs, take your pick. Of the CS series, it could most closely be compared to the CS-5, 10, and 30. The CS-5 and 10 are both single oscillator variants of the 15, while the 30 is an absolute behemoth of a monosynth that includes not only two oscillators, but a sequencer as well. Now, while myself and just about every other person who plays the synthesizer would love to own a CS-80, with that kind of money, I think I'd prefer to put down a deposit on a house, to be honest. So instead, I decided to settle with the modest CS-15. I recently had this one here shipped in from Japan, and I must say I am not disappointed. At first impressions, it really does look like an absolute monster. Unfortunately, however, I quickly encountered a slight issue involving oscillator 1 on this unit, which prevented me from having a proper play with it out the box. What you're hearing here is oscillator 2, which seems to work fine. But notice as I add oscillator 1 to the mix, nothing changes. That is until you reach the last few notes of the keyboard where oscillator 1 finally becomes audible. However, it completely fails to track its pitch to the correct key. This issue seemed to fluctuate in intensity as I played the synth, so my first thought was that perhaps a capacitor had failed, but I wouldn't be able to tell until I opened it up. Like most vintage synths, the CS-15 is fairly simple to open. A few screws on the side and the whole thing opens up like a car bonnet, including the keyboard bed in this case, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, that's a bad noise. Ow. Whatever. Squeak as much as... Ah! Fuck.
Aside from some ear-grating squeaking around the hinges, at first glance the electronics in here all look pretty good nick. However, the segment that we really want to look at, the one with the oscillator chips, is fixed on the front panel, so further disassembly is required. Taken down to the workshop now, I unsoldered the last few wires attached to the board and it was free. Giving it a closer inspection, however, I find more of the same. It all looks pretty good nick. The capacitors all look fine, or at least none of them are exploding. So seeing nothing obvious, I decided to plug the board back in and start probing around with a multimeter to locate any anomalies. However, after doing so and turning it back on, I was surprised to find that the synth had actually miraculously fixed itself. Alright, check this shit out. So I've just put it back together. That's the VCO that was always working. Check this out. Oh yeah. Why are you working now, huh? Further probing around revealed that when the board was flexed, the problem would once again manifest, indicating that there was a physical break somewhere on the board. And after some close inspection, a break on one of the PCB tracks heading into oscillator 1 was discovered. A break which I quickly remedied by soldering a small segment of copper wire over the gap, presumably fixing the problem. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell, because while testing the circuit, I mistakenly created a short circuit which fried the IC on the power board. It turns out the chip in question, the TA7179P, isn't amazing and is prone to frying even when only slightly overloaded. So I'm going to have to repair that as well. Now, while I could just buy another chip, it would no doubt take forever to ship here and might just break again, so I figured I'd just modify the power supply to run without it and simplify the circuit in the process. To do this, I removed the chip and the 2 transistors. I also replaced the electrolytic capacitors that would still be used with identical modern ones while I was there, as well as these tantalums which I replaced with newer ceramic ones. Lastly, I installed the 2 voltage regulators onto the heatsink and patched them back into the board with some wires into the relevant spots, once again giving us a stable power supply and finishing up the repairs. Before getting into some sound demos, let's quickly break down this synth's architecture. Now, at first glance, this thing can look quite daunting, but it's really quite simple once you understand what's going on. So first thing you'll notice is that the controls are divided up into labeled modules, which are linked together by these lines, indicating the signal path. You'll also notice that this synth has 2 separate envelope generators, not linked to anything specifically. That's because these envelope generators can be manually set to affect either the two VCAs or VCFs. Along with this, the single LFO on this synth can be used to modify just about every component of this synth simultaneously. In this way, you can almost think of the CS-15 as a kind of modular synthesizer, using switches instead of patch cables. Having a look on the left here, we see that this synth has two identical oscillators that can be played primarily monophonically. They have a 6-octave feat switch, 3 waveforms including triangle, saw, and square, an LFO modifier which affects pitch, a pulse width modifier for the square wave, as well as a pulse width modulator. To the right of the oscillators, we have 2 mixers. Mixer 1 receives the output from oscillator 1, as well as from a switchable external or noise source. Mixer 2 also receives the output from oscillator 1, as well as from oscillator 2. From this point, both mixer outputs get fed into their own filter and VCA before being recombined in the final main output, the volume of which is controlled here. The CS-15 has 2 identical multi-mode filters which are able to act as a low pass, high pass, or band pass filter. They have an adjustment knob for cutoff frequency, resonance, and envelope depth, as well as a knob for the LFO modifier, which affects the cutoff point. Both filters can be set to receive signals from envelope generator 1 or 2, as well as an inverted envelope signal from envelope generator 1 for VCF1 and envelope generator 2 for VCF2. Next to the filters are the 2 identical VCAs. They include adjustment knobs for initial attenuation level, envelope generation depth, and an LFO modifier which affects attenuation level. Like the filters, these 2 can be set to receive input from either envelope generator 1 or 2. Finally, on the right, we have the 2 envelope generators with these nice sliders to control attack, decay, sustain, and release. Both generators can be set to operate at normal speed or an increased ×5 speed. Envelope generator 1 can be set to trigger off the keyboard or from an external source inputted on the back, meaning with the addition of an external controlled voltage source which can also be inputted on the back, this synth can actually be operated duophonically. On the far left, we have some tuning controls, a segment which selects whether noise or an external source will be routed to mixer 1, the LFO controls allowing for speed modification and a selection between a sine wave, sawtooth, or sample and hold, and finally glide controls. Glide can be dialed in separately for both oscillator 1 and 2, however the speed controls are constant for both. Lastly, at the bottom here are the performance controls. It includes a pitch bend controlled by this nice paddle. The pitch bend can be set to adjust the pitch by 2 semitones, 3 semitones, or an octave. Next to that is a brilliant slider, which effectively just allows you to adjust the filter cutoff of either filter 1, 2, or both on the fly. And at the end here is a slider for your portamento. And that about does it for the CS-15's features. So now I'm going to shut up and showcase some of the different sounds this synth can make.